hate long intro, so let me just get right into it. I am going to be using Logic as my main DAW.
I'm biracial.
The first thing I'm going to use is the piano, obviously. For the piano, I'm mainly going to be using the Labs synth. If you don't know what Labs is, it's a free VST, it's fucking best. My last video was on it, go watch it if you need convincing, otherwise you can just download it. It's the Labs piano. The next thing in the song is obviously violins and stuff. You can probably get away with using stock, cellos and violins and stuff for most of it. However, some of the solo cello and solo violin stuff can't really replicate really well. I'm going to be using the East-West library, I'm going to be using Hollywood strings and all that stuff, and they sound beautiful. Most of the string stuff is going to be East-West. If you don't have access to that, I will leave a link in the description to all the stems and the Logic file and everything you want. Go download that if you're missing a couple of the presets here. What else do you need? We want like a timpani roll and a timpani bang, and for that I'm going to be using again East-West. What else do we need? Oh yeah, there's like some synths here and there. What else? Oh, and Serum. I'm going to be using Serum for the bass, so you want this like subby bass. Massive will work just as well, but it's literally just going to be like a sine wave. You'll see what I'll do in a sec, but Serum, Massive, any sub bass kind of sound, an 808 will kind of work. Most of you will probably have access to an 808 sample from Splice or something. But I think that's it. Let's jump on the computer and I'll show you how to recreate Lovely by Billie Eilish. Oh, also before I start, I am really happy because I bought this like weighted piano thing. And I love it. Okay, let's get into it. The way I did this is I just kind of had the track playing, so I just had this. And I built from there and kind of checked what I need to add. So if you're missing any elements, or if I've missed any elements, go back to the track and cross-reference. That's the best way to do these things. The first thing I'm going to talk about is the piano. Now, the piano is pretty much the same the whole way through, and if you can look here, this is an absolute mess. If you look over here, I have the piano split up into piano 1 and piano 2, right? So my piano 1 is just this. Right, that's the Labs piano. So this thing, soft piano, I haven't done anything to it. And so yeah, it's pretty much the same for the entire song. I like, there's obviously sections where it's not there, and then that's it. For the whole song, it just goes like that. I'll put it, again, there's going to be a link to the MIDI down below, so you can just copy it from there. The first two notes are E and G. And then when it goes to the B minor chord, D and F sharp or D and G flat. Right, so that's what you're doing there. And then it goes to the little, that's just an E minor arpeggio, so it goes up to the B. That's pretty much it for the piano 1. The piano 2 is like the chord stuff. So it's like, depending on how you want to make the cover, you can make it more chordy. So I mean, instead of just holding the root note, wherever it is, you can play like the C major, E minor, B minor, and then back to C major. And then for like this section here, like just the whole song is built off that. And actually the way I did the strings, and you'll see that in a sec, is I've just kind of built it off those chords. So I've got one cello playing like, I've got like the violin playing like the 5th above it or whatever. So that's how I built all the strings up. So the Serum preset is literally, I've got a, what kind of wave is this? I don't even know what it's called. Wave, triangle wave, sawtooth? I think it's a sawtooth. So I've got a sawtooth wave, normal octave. I've got another sawtooth wave, an octave underneath. And I've got a sine wave in the sub, an octave underneath as well. I've just got like a low pass filter. And then externally, I've got this EQ running. I've got a low pass filter at 830 and a high pass filter at 78. And just the sub bass on its own is going to sound like this. Oh, also it's on mono mode and I've got it on portamento. So when you slide, can you hear that kind of gliding thing between notes? That just helps it sound smoother, if you'll hear it here. Right, that just makes it sound a bit nicer. Again, if you're on a phone, I don't know if that'll come through. The thing with these strings here is you're not going to get it sounding 100% because, I mean, even with the libraries I'm using, it's going to take me hours and hours just to get those like little inflections right of how the violins and the cellos play, because I assume they use live violins or just a different library. So the first thing is just the cello. Like I can go through this, but again, the MIDI is going to be in the description, but I'll just play it for you. The other cello line, this is the bass one, I think. Nope, that's a violin. Why is it? And that's just playing the same thing as this. This is the bass cello line. I think we got this one. No, that's just the side. So that's just the solo version of what I've been playing already. So 3 lines of the same thing. Where is this bass cello? So we've got 2 cellos playing that main line. We've got the violin playing the main line on top of it, and then we've got a bass cello playing like the low notes. That's the bass cello. And then we've got another cello playing, I assume this is the 5th? Yeah, the 5th and the 3rd, so just this. Right, so that's what that cello is playing. And then to top all of that off, we have, what is this? Oh, this is the bass one. I'm a so that's kind of like the lower end of the cellos, and then we've got like the lead on top. So yeah, I mean, orchestral stuff is all about layering. I did a tutorial, I think my second last tutorial was on cinematic pop. Just talked about how to create this stuff, but pretty much all the orchestral stuff, it's just about layering, getting different octaves, getting the fifths, getting the harmonies going, and all of that. Right, and so after that, I've got the sub going there. I get rid of the sub for this section. I have this from the east-west thing. I've cut out pretty much all of the high end. Yeah, it's sitting on a low-pass filter at 770. But this is, if you go down to the orchestral gold, percussion, drums, timpani, crescendo, short, I believe that's what the S stands for, and it's just this, and I put a lot of reverb on it. Now, the other way you can do this, Logic has a stock timpani that you can just, and then you can reverb it, reverse it, it'll sound great. If you don't know what I'm talking about, let me just show you. Right, so you got that, and then you want to bounce that in place. That was Control B, not Command B, that was Control B, Mac users. And then you want to reverse it, and that'll kind of create, it's not going to be exact again, but it's going to create a very, very similar effect to that timpani crescendo. So here's the timpani crescendo. Right? So yeah, drench it like 100% reverb. And then this is the reverse timpani. Right, so it's pretty similar. Right, it's not exact, but you'll get a pretty similar effect. So timpani, reverse, 100% reverb, and that's the crescendo. And then that's a timpani hit. I should really name my tracks properly. And then I've got this. There's actually a free sample from I Want That Sound. It is the nut drum. No, that's the original one. That's what I've done to it. And if you listen to the song, we've got that kind of thing. And we've got that like kind of... That's what I came up with. A bit hard to replicate exactly what it is, but in the context of the song, it's pretty similar. Like, I was pretty happy with it. That's what mine sounds like. So, alright, you be the judge of that. I went to Logic's drums and I went to Hit Machine. And it's just like this stick clapping sound. Look, you could probably replicate this sound. Just get like a drumstick, not a chicken drumstick, like a drumstick, and whack it against like a table or a carpet or something. EQ it in the right way. I obviously cut off all the high end. And I get that. Then I pitch shifted it down 8 semitones, and then added a shit ton of reverb. That's how I got that. And that's pretty much all the percussion for the chorus, and then let's start walking through the strings. So, here's what it sounds like without strings, what we got so far. Oh, and bring back the sub bass with the chorus, obviously. So, slowly, one by one, let's bring in the cello first, and this is what the cello... Just that pretty much for the whole chorus. Then the next line that I'm going to bring in is this. It's a violin version, so it's like an octave or two up from the cello, and it is playing almost like a simpler version of what the cello is playing. So if I put it against this, it's kind of just playing the first of each line. So this is the violin. And then underneath that I have another violin playing exactly what the cello is playing. And then I have another violin playing that. And so the difference with this violin, this is like the full violin, like the full, it's not just a solo violin, it's like the whole orchestra violin. It's like 18 violins or something. And then I've got a cello version of that, I believe. And this last violin is, I've used the Contact VSL library, and what I'm using is playing full chords with this. And that just helps add some texture and some warmth to it. Again, that's just chords. So C major, E minor, B minor, and then loop. Sub bass, and the piano, and that's the chorus. So after the chorus, we want to go back into this piano section. Again, it's just the piano chords. And then slowly fade in that like din 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 piano. Probably can't hear it here. There we go. So then Phineas, the producer, he brings in this like pizzicato thing. Again, that's just from the East West Library. That's the original. That's mine. Oh, and then he's got like another hit in there. Again, the same one from the chorus. You can just use that one. I pitch shifted it down a bit, but so in the chorus when we're talking about this hit here, I just took that, pitch shifted it down, and used it there. Added some more bass to it. And then in the song, he's got this like right, just nice. So you got this for the short staccato sound, and then this for the normal one, and together. So you can do that. 2 different tracks. And then he made this like synthy, ghosty effect. I don't know what you call this. That. So the way I recreated that kind of is I got this like glass bell preset from Logic. It's called Echoing Glass Bells. It's in bell. Cool. Hit an E. That's really loud, sorry. Hit an E, bounced it in place and reversed it. And then what I did is I took that E, so this is my original, and then I pitch shifted it up an octave. I mean, I could have just played it an octave up or whatever. Pitch shifted up, and then pitch shifted it up, not an octave, but like 11 semitones. So a semitone underneath an octave, and it creates that like semitone dissonance. That creepy sound. And then added a ton of reverb to it, and we get this. In the context of the entire song. And then again for the chorus, that just comes in again. But for the most part, it's the same, and you just want to kind of loop that timpani percussion that just keeps going. Back into the piano section. So not much there. And then for the ending, so for this part here, what you want to do for that part there is you want to bring in these. I'm going to show you one track because I've just octaved it. But so that's what I've done for the ending part there. I'd call it like an ending chorus. I don't know what you call this. And again, the percussion's exactly the same throughout the whole song. I haven't really changed it much. That could be cleaned up. Anyway, what I want to show you next, really important, is this. So the ending. We've got this piano, and every time you play a chord here, so it's going to go again C major, E minor, B minor, but you're going to have a high B on top. So that B is going to stay there for every chord. So if we listen to the original song, that's in there as well. Right, so that B is just chilling there. And then we've got, this has to be a solo cello. You cannot replicate this with like a full normal orchestral plugin. This has got to be a solo cello, and it just sounds like this. Looks so out of time. Again, I'll have the MIDI for this in the description if you want to download it. If you can't play it, if you want to learn it, whatever, it's all going to be there. That's the ending of the song. That was my tutorial on how to recreate Lovely by Billie Eilish. I hope that helped you. I hope that was useful to you. I hope you learned a couple of things. I make tutorials every Sunday on producing, composing, and I enjoy doing cheap posting during my videos. So if you like that, please subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Let me know what other tutorials you want to see. I make these tutorials for all of you. If you want to see more recreations, if you want to see more like hardware stuff, more gear stuff, if you just want to see tutorials on how to make vocals better, whatever you guys want, I will create it. I will see you all next week.